Wilkinson had to come in with his dustpan and brush to clear it up. Runs into Dickinson. Youngs to Easter. He's held up by Murray. He's had one of the games of his life for Scotland, but will it be enough? Palmer. Ashton. Armitage. Tackled by Ansborough. 10 minutes to go. It stays the same. England are staying in the World Cup and Scotland are going home.
England playing clever rugby. They're playing down that blind side. They've played through 5 or 6 phases of possession. Good territory.
Scottish penalty. There's a knowing smile on the face of Phil Vickery.
Great work, wasn't it, from Nathan Hines? England finally beginning to play with some intent and looking dangerous with ball in hand. And we've kind of been looking at each other wondering why we've not seen this earlier in the game. But this Scotland team won't give up, Scott, will they?
No, they certainly won't. And what, 10 minutes to go now? Well, they're quite happy playing the tight game. You know, do you continue to seek the penalty, the drop goal? But as we say it here, Nathan Hines goes in. That's why he came off the bench. That's why he makes a nuisance of himself. Richie Vernon already in there. But England's performance tonight has been littered with these types of errors.
Confirmation of the change, and Blair is off as well to be replaced by Chris Cussiter, who is no bad player to come into this situation. He's barely played a test match over the last 18 months because of injuries. But he is perhaps just the stick of dynamite that Scotland need to get a try that might yet see them home. Remember, keep those 8 points in mind. A try would take them 8 points ahead. We've got 9 minutes to go. This is Vernon. Here is Cussiter. Links up with Kellett. No, Kellett feeds Patterson instead, who's tackled by Easter.
Run away, watch!
Cussiter to Gray. Hines, neatly done. This is Ford.
Fine.
Ball kicked away by Tuolangi. As a result, England will have the scrum. It's worth pointing out, by the way, just for the record, that if Scotland stay in this position, they're not necessarily out, but you're rather hoping that Georgia can do them a favour, and I'm not sure that that's going to happen tomorrow, as England do finally make the change in the front row. Alex Corbisiero is coming on, and Matt Stevens, who's had one of his more uncomfortable evenings, comes off.
Well, Wilkinson with the pressure. Flood goes up on Ford. This was a good offload, good continuity, but look at Tuolangi, gets the foot in there. Just spoils that possession. Scotland with the knock-on. Cool heads from England required.
8 minutes to go. It'll feel like 8 hours for England, 8 seconds for Scotland. And now England have the penalty.
Pulling out.
Might be worth mentioning, by the way, that both teams have been leaving nothing to chance over the last couple of days. Members of both squads, won't mention the names, have been busy buying presents to put in the suitcase, just in case tomorrow is their last day. One set will be pulling the suitcase out from under the hotel room bed this evening. The other will be looking forward to next weekend and the quarter-final, probably against the All Blacks here, as Richard Wigglesworth readies himself to come on.
Super scrum, difficult for Alex Corbisiero coming on early. Good scrum, power coming on. I think it was loose head side for Scotland, just caving in. Frustration for Scotland.
England have made that change. There he is. Well, he wasn't the most sympathetic of balls slapped down to him.
Well, keep an eye on that clock. This game's about territory. Do Scotland go for broke? Do they open up the game now and attack with every opportunity? They were relying on the kick, they were relying on the chase, but can they rely on their hands?
They only need a try.
Touch.
Only need a try.
Pause. Engage.
Won't need telling.
Ball out.
Scotland get away with a scrum that had collapsed. Patterson continues to run. This is Ansborough. Is this the moment? Tuolangi was there. Intervention from Tuolangi was important because that gave Toby Flood a little bit more time to get across.
Well, Scott touched on it, didn't he? Can Scotland play their way down there? They're certainly going for it. Good hands, dummy runner coming in. Lovely cut line, holding in defence.
Yes.
Good cover tackle, just enough to scrag him, wasn't it?
Yeah, but great play by England's centre. Tuolangi, the way he covered has tracked his man. Great defensive play. Concern for Scotland on Chris Patterson. He hammered his head off the turf here in Eden Park. He's a wily old soldier, this boy.
This is how it happened. Oh, he caught Armitage and the flailing right shoulder. Absolutely no intent, just one of those things, but Patterson came off second best.
Well, it hasn't been pretty. It's been tense, and the atmosphere over the next few minutes is just going to go to another level.
Four blue. Peeling off, play on. Blue peeling off. Same more.
Easter takes the ball forward for England. They've driven it up to halfway. That rolling more from the line out has been much more successful, but then they were hanging on to it again. It's just been a succession, this match, of sides winning possession and then handing it back. It's been a long way from textbook rugby, but it's all added to the entertainment value, and with a little over 5 minutes to go, it is still anyone's match. Bill Beaumont once won a Grand Slam with England at Murrayfield famously. Now ought to be strictly neutral because he's one of the big cheeses at the IRB. I suspect, knowing Bill, he's anything but at the moment. Matt Banahan's coming on. He'll be needed in defensive detail. 5 minutes to go. One more reminder that Scotland need to win this by 8 points. Wilkinson is off and holding his arm rather gingerly. Gray gathers for Scotland. Cussiter. Parks goes for broke. This will come down with an enormous question mark on it, and England get away with it. Armitage, Ashton will fire upfield and chase his own kick. Patterson scampers back. World Cup futures rest on the next 5 minutes. Armitage over halfway for England. Now it's Scotland's turn to beware the penalty. Flood held up by Tom Palmer. Scotland's 10-metre line. Replacement scrum half is Richard Wigglesworth. Flood to his Leicester teammate Tuolangi. Held up by DeLuca. Penalty to England. The warning had been given. Now, what's the decision here? Flood kicked the goal. He'd almost end the debate. But Scotland, despite having the lead, know that it's still not enough. And it's almost as if England are saying, we'll take the defeat now, we'll count down the clock, lose the battle but win the war. Hope you can feel this atmosphere back home, because Eden Park is rocking. Tom Croft continues to be the master of the line-out. He's been the aerial master. becoming increasingly comfortable at this facet of the game. Hartley goes down to present it for Wigglesworth. This is Tuolangi. Wigglesworth, taken by Flood, flings it wide, taken by Ashton to finish it and put England in the World Cup quarter-finals. You can only feel sympathy for Scotland, but that is so England.
Well, England persevered, and ultimately they've broken Scottish hearts. Flood with the overhead pass. The line was there, Patterson couldn't get there. Ashton goes in.
Key for me there. Wigglesworth on the ball, sweeping the ball away early from the breakdown to give England momentum. Toby Flood taking the ball to the line. Beautiful pass over the top. And you'd think England had won the World Cup here this evening with those celebrations.
Well, I think it was more a ripple of relief. It was almost seismic though.
Toby Flood ladles on a little bit more pain for Scotland, a little bit more joy for England. Felt like Murrayfield not so long ago, now it's very much Twickenham.
Very interesting, a quick contrast of the two flies. Flood who threw that one, Parks who kicked the previous one. They had an opportunity, Scotland, and perhaps just let it slip all the way.
Scotland booked the coach to take them to the airport for just after breakfast tomorrow morning. For a while it looked as if they could cancel the booking. The driver's now setting his alarm.
Stay on your feet to the breakdown, all of you.
The only thing tougher than being a player is being a coach, because there's nothing you can do to alter what those two are seeing. Into the final 30 seconds of what has at times been a monstrously ugly game of rugby, but one that very few of us, with the North running through our veins, have been able to take our eyes off. Palmer, he's made a difference since he's come on for England. Scotland get possession, but time is up.
The mark is here.
Cussiter. Ross Rennie frees up the ball for Cussiter. Dan Parks, Ansborough, one last throw of defiance, no, into touch, English arms raised to Auckland heavens. England into the quarter-finals, Scotland devastated.
Absolutely, it was such a brave attempt by Scotland, but unfortunately the boys in blue have been here again. They had an opportunity last week against Argentina. They had an opportunity here against England. It was a huge performance from Scotland. They made life difficult from England, but England ultimately had the last say in this game.
I think from England's point of view, the substitutions, particularly at the end of the game, that man there on your screen, Toby Flood, had a huge impact when he came on, Richard Wigglesworth. But a stuttering performance from England, take nothing away from Scotland, who were everything in this game. The heroism, the commitment, heart and soul, could not have given any more to what is an absorbing test match for me. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, a substantial slice of Six Nations grit in the Deep South. Scotland are on their way home in the morning. England will be back here next Saturday to play France in the quarter-finals. Ugly, but if you're English, it matters not a jot. England 16, Scotland 12.
Yes, I suppose the result is everything. Scotland could hardly have given more. England clearly need to give more in the World Cup quarter-finals and beyond. Lawrence, they made us suffer.
They certainly did, and